Empowering Souls International channel, where you can find inspiration, empowerment, and encouragement to take action towards a better life. My name is Amy Kudashian, and I am your host. Today I have extra special guest, good friend of mine, Douglas Vermeeren. And Douglas is going to share with us how to find a good investment. I'm sure you want to watch this channel because we're all looking for better life, better investment, and who doesn't want to invest their money and their time and their effort to have a better life and good quality. So welcome.
It's good to be here with you, Amy.
Nice to have you.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
Nice to see you. So, Douglas, would you introduce yourself? Tell us more.
Sure. Well, I'm the CEO of the Monthly Millionaire Mentor Program, and basically what we do is we help people to learn about growing their wealth. Kind of, I guess, what I'm known for is I'm the author of Self-Made Millionaires for Dummies, the Gorilla Millionaire book, and a handful of other books that teach people about growing wealth. And then naturally within our program, one of the big distinctions that we have is we provide ongoing monthly relationship with our people. So it's not just a one-time event where they learn about wealth, because wealth has never grown in a one-time event. It takes time. Absolutely. And so we provide that support along the way to help people step by step to achieve the financial results that they're really looking for.
Well, like anything else, if you want to have a good result in your health, you need to exercise all the time, eat right, and if you want to have better investment, you always need to keep up learning and growing. And what better things that to have somebody to really support you and always guide you and gives you that information that you really need to feed yourself, and then you make your own decision.
Yeah, and truthfully, the key to wealth growth in anything is consistency, right? Consistency and frequency. And I use the word frequency in two ways. One is the frequency, kind of like the zone that you're in. What you understand will help you be successful, but also frequency and how often you're doing it, right? And the problem is many people, they go to seminars and events, they learn some very incredible, brilliant stuff. They get all pumped up and motivated to make a change, and they kind of get in that frequency for a while, but when they get home, they don't do the frequency of the repetition. They don't carry on and do it consistently, and that's where most people have problems.
Well, I don't know about you, but do you think because they don't have the support?
Oh, it's 100% support. It really is. In fact, you know, the interesting thing is the Chinese philosopher Confucius one time said that there's three ways to learn wisdom. He said the first is it's reflection. When we think about and ponder and meditate, the only problem with that is you can only rise as high as your thoughts. If you've never made a lot of money, raised a lot of money, or had experience with a lot of money, you really you hit a ceiling, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the second way, he said, is experience. And we all know about the school of hard knocks. Experience doesn't always work. It can be very time-consuming, not to mention expensive and painful. So experience can be a challenge. But the final way to learn wisdom that he said is imitation. We find someone that's already doing it, and then we do it as well. Now, I would add something to that, because I don't think it's enough to just imitate someone who's successful. A lot of times we see someone who's been successful in the past, we try and do what they do, and quite frankly, the world has already moved on. And so what worked for them way back in, say, the 1990s or the 1980s or the 1970s, or heaven forbid, some people are even following models that were in the early 1900s. So what worked for those people to create wealth doesn't always work today. If you think about it, you know, even technology, let's just use audio recordings, for example. If you go and ask my son, who's 14, what a record is, like a 45 or a 33 or 78, he has no idea. In fact, if you ask him what a cassette is, he probably wouldn't know. And certainly wouldn't know an 8-track or any of these things. He barely knows a CD. What they do know is they know the download. You know, all these kind of things, right? Yeah. Well, the same is true with money or any other thing in life. It's changing at a very fantastic pace. In fact, not too long ago, I was listening to an interview with a technology expert, and they asked him, they said, what does the future look like? And he gave a really insightful answer. He said, you know what? 35% of us are already there. The rest of you will catch up in 2 years.
Wow.
And I think the same is true with money. Many of them are coming from what we learned from our parents, and they learned that from their parents, and so forth and so on. That really we're operating from a viewpoint that's really quite archaic, if you will. So it's not just enough to imitate, you have to innovate as well. You have to make it personal.
That's a good way to say it.
You have to improve on it, to innovate it. That's
Absolutely.
right.
And also, like if somebody's successful in a particular thing, maybe they have different kind of strength.
That's true.
And then we try to become like them, and it's not working because we don't have the same strength they have. Maybe we have something different.
Yeah.
And I believe where you support them to focus on their strength, and then what they can, you know, how they can become successful in their own way and create their own identity.
That's right.
And that's the way you support them.
100%.
by having, recognizing who they are and where they can go in life.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because at the beginning you were talking about, what do I look for in an investment? When I go to invest in something, and you've hit one of the big nails on the head. If it's not something that I understand, or I'm passionate about, or know a lot about, I actually generally stay clear. In fact, I think one of the keys to investments is that it needs to be simple. Now, I'm not saying that complex strategies don't work, but what I'm saying for most people, they don't have a degree in economics. They aren't fascinated and thrilled about mathematics. They need things that make sense. So one of the things I do, when I have an investment opportunity that comes to me, a lot of times I'll even bring it and I'll explain it to my 14-year-old son. If he doesn't get it, many times I'm out.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. You need to understand it. You need to understand it. You need to be excited about it. The second thing I think is really interesting too is that you need to evaluate the time aspect of it. Number one, how long are they going to have my money for? And how soon will I be getting a return? And by the way, what I also look for when it comes to time is cash flow. How quickly will I get my money back? How frequently will I get my money back? Because the truth of the matter is what keeps us financially fluid, what keeps us financially successful, it's not having a ton of money, it's actually the flow of money. If you have a ton of money that's sitting in an asset somewhere, it's not really changing your life for the present. So you have to have that flow. So I always look for that, and that's part of time. Like, how frequently is that flow coming back to me? And it's an interesting thing that a lot of people don't realize is that there are investments out there that will even pay you dividends daily.
Wow.
Daily. So you don't have to wait 6 months, a year, 4 months, or even a week. You can find stuff out there that pays daily. And that's the kind I like, because my money's then not really tied up for long periods of time. Absolutely. And then, of course, the last thing, so just to recap, you got to understand it. You've got to be able to, explain it. Next, you've got to look at the time factor. But the last, some people call it risk. I don't like to use that word. To me, risky sounds, well, here we are in Las Vegas today. We're in Las Vegas today, so risk kind of fits in some of these places,
Yes,
you roll the dice and what do you get, right? That's risk. But I don't really like that. It sounds too scary to me. So instead of the word risk, I actually use the word evaluation. Okay. And evaluation, I think, is something that comes with experience, or a mentor, or a support, or someone that has been there before. They can oftentimes take a look at a balance sheet on a company, or the paperwork on an investment, or whatever it is that you're given to investigate with this investment, and they can simply look at it, and based on their experience, they can evaluate right away whether it's a good opportunity for you. And by the way, one of the things that I do when I evaluate, and this is maybe a little different than what most people do, a lot of people look at it right away, well, how much does it cost me? They say, what are the minimums to get in on this? That's totally the wrong question. Truth is, if I invested $10,000 and I lost it all, who cares what the minimum was? I just lost it all, right?
Exactly.
So instead of asking, what's the minimum, what I ask is, how much money will it make me? And then I look at what's securing that asset. What is the return? Again, all of these other things that are in there. And the truth is if it cost me $13 million to get in, but it makes me 10, it didn't cost me anything.
Absolutely.
The question of what it costs is irrelevant because it's made me the money. So I think that's a really good question to ask. A lot of times people get excited. They get maybe, hate to say it, maybe greedy. They get their eyes fixed on what the possible reward could be, and as a result, they end up losing everything. So you need to be cautious when you're evaluating. Look for things that make sense. Look for things that pay in a timely fashion. And lastly, what's the potential return, but also what's the potential risk? And if the risk is too high, time to step away. Because the other thing that I'll share that's very interesting, and I've been doing this for like 10 years now.
We're going to do that in part 2. So
yeah,
we're not going to go there.
And for 10 years.
I'm so excited to hear your knowledge because it's very important.
Well, this kind of recaps this though, but
absolutely.
This is just the one simple thing to remember is that no matter where you're at in the game, another opportunity is just around the corner. So don't feel pressure that you have to take it.
Now let me ask you this. Most of the people, they don't invest and they're scared.
Yeah.
It's scarcity. They're in scarcity. I don't want to move anything. I don't want to take a risk.
Especially in this economy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
If I do the wrong thing, if I do this, if I do that. So they don't have the knowledge that they need and they don't do nothing about it. So how really they can educate themselves? One of the things that I think maybe contact you?
Well, certainly we can help them.
Certainly
we'd be happy to help them, but we're not the only resource out there. There's a lot of really great stuff online where you can find out about different investment opportunities and things that are there. I think it is a very true statement that what you earn will always be a reflection of what you learn. And it's definitely true. The more that you can understand about what your options are, the more options you can have.
Well, this is what I'm going to, what I'm trying to say. If they're afraid, they can get the knowledge how to not to be afraid to invest your money. So you have the power to educate them.
Yeah.
Like you just said now, if I show my son, 14 years old, if he understood it, I invest in it. That is a great tool that you share with people.
Yeah.
So by really following somebody like you, they could learn a lot from you.
Well, I think mentors are important, and I myself have my own mentors. This is where I learn what I do. And in our program, the Monthly Millionaire Mentor, I brought many of the mentors that taught me into the program. So we've got, some of the top entrepreneurs in the world, not only millionaires, but several billionaires, people that have been part of multinational brands around the world. 84% of self-made millionaires are from the business category. They own their own businesses. So if you can understand really what they understand about business, then you'll make a difference for yourself. And then, of course, when your business is making money, then you can really talk about investing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one thing I would like to say here is, if if you're a teacher now, but before you become a teacher, you have to be a student.
Yes,
so
it's true.
You have to be a student.
It's true.
And so many people, they think, I don't want to be a student. I know it all, and I know it all. I don't want to learn from anybody else.
Well, what they've done then is they've just put up a dam to stop any progress.
Yes.
And what's interesting is you said that I'm a teacher now, but I still am a student too.
We're always students.
100%.
Yes.
Because like I was talking about with innovation
before.
And change, the minute that you say that I've figured it all out is the minute that you stop everything, because the world is changing around you. And if you said that you're not prepared to receive any more change or any more information to keep up with things, you've just made yourself irrelevant.
Bob Proctor one time said, he find himself getting out of one box, and he find himself in another box. Every time he gets out of one box, he finds himself in another box. And I loved when he shared that with us. So it's very important to continue learning and growing.
Well, here's an interesting thought with that box idea. And I'm a firm believer, everybody says to be successful, you have to think outside the box. And that's totally incorrect. What you do need to do is just find the right box to think in. So if you want to be a millionaire or a billionaire, you need to start associating with people in those kind of boxes.
And just jump in it.
That's right, and that's why we brought those kind of mentors into our program.
Yes.
I was very careful when I chose the mentors for us. I didn't want people that talked it but weren't doing it. I wanted people that actually had made their wealth, and not in personal development. They made it in the real business community, not by selling seminars. And by the way, that's not how I made my wealth. I'm a business person first, and I'm a teacher really second. I love the teaching, but I couldn't teach unless I had my assets working for me in another arena. But this is just it, is if you want to make a change in your life, don't start thinking outside of the box and getting all creative. Actually find what boxes are already out there that are working, take them, and then again, that word, innovate.
That's great analogy, great. So we're gonna have part 2 of this, because I can't have enough time. Absolutely can't. So we're gonna have part 2 of this, and I'm sure they're gonna follow part 2.
Oh, I hope so, because I'm gonna share with you a really interesting secret about millionaires.
I'm glad
and if you miss it, you're gonna miss that, and your financial future will not be what you want it to be.
He's putting the guilt in you now.
Well, it's the truth.
But it's good to
it's all about what you understand
and have fun with it. So we're gonna come back and have part 2, and I'm sure you're gonna tune in. So until then, I always want you to remember, Empowering Souls International Channel, it's all about inspiration, empowerment, and encouragement to take action towards a better life. I know you see this is going to be so powerful information for you. I encourage you to share it with your loved ones, with your friends, with your families, and just get it out there. Get it out there. When you share good information, you feel good about yourself. Until then, I hope you have a great life, and I'll see you soon.